Rav Maga, Krav Maga, Krav Maga, Hebrew KRBMG, IPA, Krav Maga, lit. Contact combat, is an Israeli martial art. Developed for the Israel Defense Forces, IDF, it is derived from a combination of techniques used in Aikido, judo, karate, boxing, and wrestling. It is known for its focus on real-world situations. Imi Lichtenfeld, also known as Imi Steor, was born in 1910 in Budapest, Austro-Hungary to a Jewish family and grew up in Bratislava, Slovakia. Lichtenfeld became active in a wide range of sports, including gymnastics, wrestling, and boxing. In 1928, Lichtenfeld won the Slovak Youth Wrestling Championship, and in 1929 the Adult Championship, light and middleweight divisions. That same year, he also won the National Boxing Championship and an International Gymnastics Championship. During the ensuing decade, Lichtenfeld's athletic activities focused mainly on wrestling, both as a contestant and a trainer. In the mid-1930s, anti-Semitic riots began to threaten the Jews of Bratislava, Czechoslovakia. Lichtenfeld became the leader of a group of Jewish boxers and wrestlers who took to the streets to defend Jewish neighborhoods against the growing numbers of anti-Semitic Nazis. Lichtenfeld quickly discovered, however, that actual fighting was very different from competition fighting, and although boxing and wrestling were good sports, they were not always practical for the aggressive and brutal nature of street combat. It was then that he started to re-evaluate his ideas about fighting, and started developing the skills and techniques that would eventually become Krav Maga. Having become a thorn in the side of the equally anti-Semitic local authorities, in 1940, Lichtenfeld left his home with his family and friends on the last refugee ship to escape Europe. U.S. Air Force Security Forces members during Krav Maga training. After making his way to mandatory Palestine, Lichtenfeld joined the Haganah paramilitary organization. In 1944, Lichtenfeld began training fighters in his areas of expertise: physical fitness, swimming, wrestling, use of the knife, and defense against knife attacks. During this period, Lichtenfeld trained several elite units of the Haganah, including the Palmach, striking force of the Haganah and forerunner of the special units of the Israel Defense Forces, and the Palyam, as well as groups of police officers. In 1948, when the State of Israel was founded and the IDF was formed, Lichtenfeld became chief instructor for physical fitness and Krav Maga at the IDF School of Combat Fitness. He served in the IDF for about 20 years, during which time he developed and refined his unique method for self-defense and hand-to-hand combat. Self-defense was not a new concept, since nearly all martial arts had developed some form of defensive techniques in their quest for tournament or sport dominance. However, self-defense was based strictly upon the scientific and dynamic principles of the human body. In 1965, judo training was added as part of the Krav Maga training. Until 1968, there were no grades in Krav Maga. Then a trainee's grades were determined largely by his knowledge in judo. In 1968, Eli Avixar, one of Lichtenfeld's principal students and first black belt, began learning Aikido. In 1971, Eli left for France, where he received a black belt in Aikido. Upon his return, Avixar started working as an instructor alongside Imi to integrate more traditional martial arts into Krav Maga. Then, in 1974, Imre retired and gave Eli Avixar control over the Krav Maga training center in Netanya. Shortly after, in 1976, Avixar joined the permanent force of IDF as head of the Krav Maga section. The role of Krav Maga in the army advanced greatly after Eli's appointment. More courses were given, and every PE instructor was obliged to learn Krav Maga. Avixar continued to develop Krav Maga within the IDF until his retirement in 1987. Up to this date, Eli had trained 80,000 male soldiers and 12,000 female soldiers. Further pursuing excellence as a student of martial arts, Eli went to Germany in 1977 and received a black belt in Aikido from the European Federation. In 1978, the Krav Maga Association was established, and in 1989, as an active member of the Judo Association, Eli Avixar helped to contribute to the general development of professional and ranked committees within the larger Krav Maga community by founding the Israeli Krav Maga Association, KAMI. KAMI is a parallel discipline to the original Krav Maga. Eli retired as the chief Krav Maga instructor in 1987, and Boaz Aviram became the third person to hold the position, being the last head instructor to have studied directly with both Lichtenfeld and Avixar. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the next video you want to see.